Isn't this just the best feeling? I'm on the road again! Woo! Woohoo! Yes!
Noraly Schoenmaker, known to millions as Itchy Boots, left behind a life many would envy. A secure career as a geologist, a comfortable home in the Netherlands, and the predictable rhythm of work and social life. In 2018, she made the difficult choice to sell her possessions, buy a motorcycle, and leave everything familiar behind. What many saw as adventurous was also profoundly lonely, uncertain, and filled with challenges that few could truly understand.
Are you ready for this? Without further ado, it is the brand new Himalayan. And I'm saying Himalayan and not Himalayan because I'm in India and that's how...
From the beginning, the journey demanded more than skill. In the Indian Himalayas, the rented Royal Enfield Himalayan she first rode was her only companion. She navigated treacherous passes, bitter cold, and high altitudes, often with no one nearby for miles. The isolation pressed heavily on her, growing further as she ventured into Central Asia, South America, and beyond. Sometimes the emptiness of the roads reflected her own doubts, reflecting them back in the cold morning air. As a female solo rider, the physical hardships were relentless.
So, the road is super hard. It's taking me forever. I'm averaging about 25.
In Tajikistan, corrugated roads on high plateaus forced her to crawl at 5 kilometers per hour. Each vibration traveled through her arms and back, leaving her exhausted and sore. Nights were spent in tents on uneven ground, with temperatures plummeting far below what her gear could reliably keep out. Hunger, fatigue, and the constant need to remain vigilant compounded the strain. Even the smallest miscalculation, slipping on gravel, misjudging a curve, could have severe consequences. The road was unforgiving, and she was entirely alone. In Guatemala, mud nearly claimed her motorcycle. The possibility of a jaguar lurking nearby made each failed attempt to free Basanti all the more frightening. Alone, soaked and trembling, she whispered to herself, "You got this. You will get out." On the 5th try, the bike finally budged. The triumph was quiet and personal, a small victory against both nature and fear. Moments like this defined her journey. The victories were often silent, unseen, and deeply earned. The social obstacles were subtle but cutting. As a solo female traveler, Noraly faced skepticism and doubt from many quarters. Online forums questioned her authenticity, with some assuming she had a hidden support crew.
There's a carcass laying over there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a huge carcass. And there's a lot of birds of prey here.
In real life, she sometimes encountered condescension or suspicion from locals, border officials, and mail riders alike. Comments like, "There's no way a woman could do this alone," carried a sting that never fully faded. Unlike her male peers, who were often assumed competent, she had to prove her skill and resilience repeatedly, a constant pressure that added invisible weight to every mile. Her mental struggles were inseparable from her physical ones. The constant responsibility for safety, route planning, and problem-solving left little room for relief. In extreme conditions, whether wind, rain, or stifling heat, every small error loomed large. Nights spent alone in remote villages or under the stars sometimes turned into nights of quiet fear.
Get around it. So I hope I can just turn right here. That would be awesome. Otherwise I have to try again. See, 'cause
She could hear distant animals, sense the approach of unknown humans, or worry about mechanical failures that would leave her stranded. These were not dramatic crises for the camera. They were quiet moments of anxiety and solitude that weighed heavily on her mind. Even her creative work carried burdens. Every video she produced for her YouTube channel required filming, editing, and storytelling, all done alone. She balanced the demands of documenting a compelling narrative with the physical exhaustion of long days on the road. Mistakes in filming could mean reshoots that were often impossible. Every piece of content was hard-won, reflecting not just her adventures, but her mental and emotional labor. She bore this responsibility silently, often in conditions where small errors could have large consequences. The global pandemic brought its own shadow of hardship. Travel restrictions and border closures disrupted carefully planned routes. Supplies became difficult to secure, local regulations changed unexpectedly, and long stretches of isolation intensified. For a traveler who depended on freedom of movement, Each delay or road closure was a reminder of fragility, of plans, safety, and control.
And then stop somewhere here, and that's about 530 kilometers for today. So, well, I think today is going to be the least.
Yet she pressed on, demonstrating a resilience born of necessity. The true fragility of solo travel became painfully clear in 2024, when a crash in Tanzania left her with a broken collarbone. Physical pain was compounded by vulnerability. She relied on strangers for medical care and had to temporarily surrender control over her journey. Recovery was slow, frustrating, and humbling, forcing her to confront limits she had rarely acknowledged. The incident underscored the quiet truth of female solo travel. Independence comes with profound responsibility, and even the most experienced riders are never immune to misfortune. Despite these hardships, Noraly found resilience in the smallest victories. Each successful border crossing, each road navigated, each encounter where she was treated with respect rather than skepticism was a quiet affirmation. Her courage was not loud. It was measured, personal, and often unseen. She rode not for validation, but for the sense of purpose that each mile provided. Noraly's story also illuminates the emotional labor that female riders often bear in ways male travelers do not. She constantly negotiated perceptions, judged not just for skill, but for presence and identity. Being alone as a woman on the road required vigilance, diplomacy, and an acute awareness of risk in a way her male counterparts rarely experienced. The emotional weight of this constant vigilance was subtle but exhausting, adding a layer of challenge beyond terrain, weather, or mechanics. Through these experiences, Noraly cultivated a philosophy of quiet perseverance. She embraced the discomfort, the fear, and the isolation as inherent aspects of her journey. Challenges became teachers. Every mud-stuck bike, every night in a tent alone, every skeptical glance shaped her approach to problem-solving, patience, and self-reliance. She learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in spite of it. Her story, made public through videos, blog posts, and her 2025 book, Free Ride, resonates because it is authentic.
In Afghanistan. Wow.
She does not shy from recounting the moments of fear, frustration, and loneliness. She does not glamorize the hardships. Instead, she presents them honestly, inviting her audience to empathize with the quiet sacrifices and trials that define her journey. Even in moments of triumph, the shadows of struggle remain. In 2024, she began riding Season 8 on her Yamaha XT600Z Tenere, Frankie, intending a long route from Turkey toward Japan. The ambition of the journey was tempered by awareness. Geopolitical instability, harsh terrain, and the need for constant vigilance reminded her that independence is inseparable from risk. She paused the journey in Jeddah in May 2025. But it's not a failure in any terms. It was a conscious choice taken while considering awareness, safety, and the realities of a world that is often unpredictable for solo female travelers. Yet despite fear, doubt, and the invisible burdens of gendered scrutiny,
to be able to ride in this area. So I got that the day before yesterday in Leh. I organized that.
Noraly's story is one of quiet triumph. Her resilience lies not in avoiding hardship, but in persisting through it. Her courage is measured, intimate, and human. She demonstrates that female travelers face unique challenges: skepticism, vulnerability, and isolation, layered atop the already difficult task of solo exploration. By confronting these realities head-on, she creates a space for empathy, understanding, and inspiration. The legacy of Itchy Boots is not only in miles traveled or videos produced, but in the subtle, profound demonstration of endurance, vulnerability, and courage. Noraly Schoenmaker shows that adventure is not simply the pursuit of beautiful landscapes, but the practice of meeting fear, loneliness, and societal bias with resilience and integrity. Her journey teaches that empathy and admiration are warranted, not merely for her skill, but for the quiet fortitude required to persist where many would turn back.
I made it.
Noraly's path continues, and with it the risks and hardships that define solo travel. Yet with each mile, she reaffirms an essential truth. Vulnerability is not weakness. Fear is not failure. And the act of continuing, despite uncertainty and invisible burdens, is itself a profound form of bravery. Her story invites the audience not only to witness her journey, but to feel it, to recognize the courage it takes to ride alone, as a woman, through a world both vast and often unaccommodating.